We're looking at an invader that is native to the Indo-Pacific, and it's gotten here or gotten into Caribbean by various methods. Dr. Budu will go into more details when he talks about the lionfish pilot project that Jamaica conducted. Now, general features, I think, well, we were on the assumption that everyone was aware of the lionfish by now, especially when you saw that graph that was presented before that shows the invasion from the early 2000s up until now and the spread across the Caribbean. But surprisingly, when the Jamaican delegation got here last night and we were being asked about why we are here and all of those things, and we said that we're here for the invasive species meeting, and they're like, what's that? And they said, like lionfish, and the customs officers were like, lionfish? What are you talking about? But when they said giant African snail, then they were like, oh yeah, we know what you're talking about, right? So we in Jamaica, based on the activities of the pilot project, the entire population knows about lionfish now. And as a result of that, we have different issues when we look at in terms of the cost and the benefits arising from lionfish management. Now, just to give you an idea of what the fish is like, it's quite, it's when you see it in an aquarium, it's quite gorgeous to look at. When you see it on your plate, if it looks like this, it's not all that attractive, right? It has spines that are venomous. The fish is not poisonous, it's venomous, meaning that consuming the fish is not harmful. What is a problem is that when you get stung by the spines, there's a protein which is in the spine that when injected into the human body causes extreme amount of pain. Now, the spines to watch out for are the dorsal, the anal, and the pectoral spines. The other spines, as of the fins are soft and they're poisons in there. So once these spines are removed, the fish is safe for consumption. Now, as said before, it reproduces very quickly. The one female can produce about 2 million eggs per year, and they reproduce every 4 days. What are the reactions that are caused from being stung by the lionfish is that you get swelling, there's extreme pain, there's possibility of paralysis. There have been no reported cases of death to date. The impact of this thing is dependent on how much of the venom gets into the body and how long you've been in contact with it. The area of study looking at for the management of the lionfish is off the north coast of Jamaica at the Discovery Bay Marine Lab. This was the area that was chosen because there's a lot of research that goes into this area. There's a lot of resources that are available, and it would be easier to look at a defined area than looking at the entire island. Now, the management options that were looked at are what we are looking at, of course, is the do-nothing approach, an active capture approach, and a passive capture approach. Now, the active capture approach is going in and spearfishing or netting the lionfish. So there's active removal. So the cost that would be associated with this management option is like traveling to the areas, both use, gas, spares, permits, all of these things. A lot of times we're looking at removing lionfish from protected areas. The passive capture method is an innovative method that Dr. Buda and his team have come up with, where they're looking at putting down of modifying fish traps, and they're using this and using a series of different baits and so forth to see what is the most effective and which one would be best at capturing the lionfish. So what we did was to look at the active capture approach, the passive, and I think also a combination of the two. Now, the main cost associated with the management of the lionfish is as it relates to research and monitoring, which you heard about before and you will hear about more later, or extensive education campaign, or with our slogan, "Eat it to beat it." That was quite effective. I don't think that there's anywhere in Jamaica that you can go and persons have not heard about the lionfish and have not consumed the lionfish. There's a lot of efforts that have been made based on public and private partnership which went into getting the message out. Before, what we had the issue of is that persons were not used to the fish. because even despite the fact it's an aquarium trade fish, it's not really an aquarium fish in Jamaica. So what would happen is that you'd have or fisher folk would come into contact with these fishes and not know what they are. And so the first perception was, of course, it's an alien, but not alien as how we have appreciated here, but alien as something that came from outer space. So there was lots of effort had to be made into changing the mindset and then convincing persons that it was not poisonous and then to consume it. Now what we have is a situation that once they've gotten a taste, they're hooked. And so there's a lot of consumption of lionfish. I mean, to the point now that when you go to places that you would normally be able to get lionfish, it's scarce commodity because it goes very quickly. Initial capital cost would be the cost that's associated with the equipment that will be used, the research and all these other things that go into it, transportation, and of course the removal. The benefits would be, of course, as mentioned before, is that the impact it has on fisheries. So this would allow for for the fishing industry in Jamaica to be able to recuperate. We already have a stress system. The addition of the lionfish is making it worse because of its consumption. But with management of the lionfish would allow for the replenishment of other fish and other marine life that should be used for consumption. Maintenance of employment such as fishing, shoreline protection, tourism, because not only does the impact of the lionfish have on the fishing industry, it also has an impact on the tourism industry. When the Bahamas come and speak, they will tell you more about the density and how much that you'll find across the Caribbean, how the impact it has in the Bahamas. But what is the real impact it would have on tourism is from a tourist being stung by the lionfish. All right. Part of our tourism product is not only the sand, sea, and water, but is the water and going out swimming, snorkeling, and so forth. So there is the increased potential for persons to come in contact with the fish, and of course there is increased awareness as we had spoken about. So the intention is to cost all of these, weigh the options and see which one comes out to be the most effective. I think based on preliminary studies that we have done so far, it seems that it would be the combined effect would be the most effective. Okay, thank you.